The red lights flashed through every corridor of the massive ship. The sound of emergency alarms filled the air as alien beings from across the galaxy rushed toward the main meeting room. The Galactic Council flagship Concordia had not sounded these alarms in over 50 years. Commander Zalthius stood at the center of the great chamber. His body looked like it was made of blue crystal, and small bolts of electricity danced across his surface. He was scared, and everyone could see it. Around him, the last survivors of a dozen different species waited to hear the terrible news. "Friends," Zalthius began, his voice shaking through the translation device. "The Nethics have found another world." A wave of fear passed through the room. Some aliens made sounds of distress. Others simply went quiet. "The world is called Earth," he continued. "It is home to a species called humans." Elder Vorthok floated near the back of the room. Her body was like a cloud of purple gas, always moving and shifting. She had lived for over 800 years and had seen the rise and fall of many civilizations. "How long do we have?" she asked quietly. 3 days, maybe 4, Zalthius replied. "The Nethic scouts have already entered their solar system." The chamber erupted in worried voices. Every being present knew what this meant. They had all seen it happen before. The Nethics would arrive, and another world would die. Captain Thrall of the Maltharian Navy stood up. His metal body gleamed under the chamber lights. Half of his species had been converted to machines to make them stronger, but even that had not saved them. "We must warn them," he said. "Give them a chance to evacuate." "Evacuate to where?" asked Dr. Zenthis, her large eyes blinking slowly. "The Nethics follow life energy across the stars. There is nowhere to hide." Zalthis nodded sadly. "The doctor is right, but we must try. It is our duty to warn them, even if we cannot save them." Elder Vorthak's gaseous form grew darker. "I remember when the Zephyrians thought they could stop the Nethics. Their energy shields were the most powerful in the galaxy. They could block the heat of a star, but the Nethics simply walked through them like they were not there." "The Malthorians tried plasma cannons," Captain Thrall added bitterly. "Weapons that could destroy entire moons. The beams passed right through the creatures without slowing them down." A young Viridian named Quilth spoke up. His people were known for their powerful minds. "My species tried to fight them with psychic attacks. We could move objects with our thoughts and read minds across star systems. But the Nethics, they exist partly outside of normal space. Our mental powers could not touch them." The room fell silent. Everyone present had lost their home worlds to the Nethics. They were the last of their kinds, survivors who had been lucky enough to escape when the shadow creatures came. "What are these humans like?" asked Dr. Zenthis. "Are they advanced? Do they have powerful weapons?" Zalthis checked his datapad. "They are very primitive. They have only just learned to leave their own planet. Their weapons are simple chemical explosives and metal projectiles. They have no energy shields, no plasma cannons, no psychic abilities. Then they have no chance at all," Captain Thrall said quietly. "None," agreed Elder Vorthok. "The Nethics will consume their entire world in a matter of hours." The commander looked around the room at the faces of the last free beings in the galaxy. "We will send them a warning. We will tell them what is coming. It is all we can do." "Will they believe us?" asked Quilth. "First contact with aliens, and we bring news of their destruction. Would you believe it?" Dr. Zenthis replied. "If strange beings appeared and told you that invisible monsters were coming to eat your world," Zalthis activated the main viewing screen. It showed a small blue and green planet orbiting a yellow star. Cities glowed like tiny lights across the dark side of the world. Billions of beings lived there, going about their daily lives, not knowing that death was coming from the stars. "This species calls themselves humans," he said. "In 3 days, they will be extinct. Just like the Zephyrians, just like the just like all the others." The chamber remained silent as they stared at the doomed world on the screen. Another civilization was about to die, and they were powerless to stop it. Send the warning, Elder Vorthok whispered. At least they will. No, they are not alone at the end. The Nethics were coming, and nothing in the universe had ever been able to stop them. Captain J walked onto the bridge of his ship, the UES Defiance. The morning shift was just starting, and his crew was busy checking their stations. Everything seemed normal, until the communications officer turned to him with wide eyes. "Sir, we have a problem," she said. "There are things, materializing in conference room 3. Jay raised an eyebrow. "Things? Aliens, sir. 2 of them. They appeared out of thin air about 5 minutes ago. They're asking to speak with whoever is in charge." The captain had heard rumors about first contact protocols, but he never thought he would need them. He straightened his uniform and headed toward the conference room. His tactical officer, Lieutenant Min, followed close behind. When they entered the room, Jay stopped in surprise. One creature looked like a giant bug standing on its back legs. It had 6 arms and eyes that moved independently of each other. The other alien was stranger still. It looked like purple smoke that somehow held a shape. Both creatures were making frantic movements. Small devices in front of them were beeping and clicking rapidly. "Greetings, humans," the bug-like alien said through its translator. "I am Commander Zelthius of the Galactic Council. This is Elder Vorthok. We bring urgent warning." "Warning about what?" Jay asked, taking a seat across from them. Elder Vorthok said, her voice sounding like wind through trees. "They are the most dangerous predators in the galaxy. They have found your world." Commander Zalthius' 6 arms moved nervously. "Your species must evacuate immediately. Leave this planet and scatter across the stars. It is your only chance." Lieutenant Min frowned. "What exactly are these Nethics?" "Death itself," the commander replied. "They are creatures of shadow and void. They phase through all physical matter. Energy weapons pass right through them. They cannot be hurt, cannot be stopped, cannot be reasoned with. They feed on life energy," Elder Vorthok added. "Entire civilizations have been consumed. Billions of beings turned to dust in a matter of hours." Jay leaned back in his chair. "So they're tough. Got it. What do they look like?" The 2 aliens exchanged what might have been confused glances. "Look like," Zalthius repeated. "They are shadows given form, darkness that moves with purpose." They big," Min interrupted. "Small. Do they have claws, teeth?" They vary in size," the commander stammered. "Some are as large as your buildings. They have tendrils of dark energy that can reach for miles." Min nodded thoughtfully. "Have you tried hitting them?" Both aliens went completely still. The purple smoke that was Elder Vorthok stopped moving entirely. "Hitting ... them," Zelthius said slowly. "Yeah," Min continued. "You know, punching them, kicking them, getting up close and giving them a good smack." The conference room fell silent, except for the quiet humming of the ship's engines. The 2 aliens seemed to be processing this question as if it was the strangest thing they had ever heard. "Physical contact is impossible," Elder Vorthok finally said. "They exist partially outside normal space. Your hand would pass through them like air." "But have you actually tried it?" Jay asked. Before the aliens could answer, Admiral He's voice crackled over the ship's communication system. "Captain J, report to Earth Command immediately. We have a situation." Jay pressed his cum badge. "Admiral, we have alien visitors. They are warning us about some kind of threat." "I know, Admiral," he replied. "We've been tracking their ship. Bring them down to the surface. We need to hear this warning in person." 20 minutes later, they were all gathered in Earth Command's main briefing room. Admiral, he sat at the head of a long table, surrounded by military officers and scientists. The 2 aliens repeated their warning, giving more details about the Nethics and their history of destruction. "So you're telling us that these shadow Creatures have destroyed every civilization they've encountered. Admiral, he asked. Every single one, confirmed Commander Zalthis. The Zephyrians had energy shields that could stop starship weapons. The Malthorians had plasma cannons that could destroy moons. The Viridians could move objects with their minds. None of it mattered, and you want us to just... run away? Asked Dr. Park, the head of Earth's Xenobiology Department. It is the only logical choice, Elder Vorthok said. Perhaps some of your species could survive if you scatter far enough. Admiral, he stood up slowly. He walked to the window and looked out at the city below. People were going about their normal lives, walking to work, playing in parks, living their daily routines. No, he said finally. No, Zalthis repeated. We're not running, Admiral, he declared, turning back to face the aliens. Humanity stands and fights. The two aliens stared at him in what could only be described as pure aura. Elder Vorthok's smoky form began to shake. You do not understand, she whispered. They cannot be fought. They cannot be stopped. They are death itself. Everything can be stopped, Lieutenant Min said calmly. You just have to find the right way to hit it. The aliens looked at the humans as if they had declared war on the universe itself. The sky above New York turned black as 3 enormous shadows fell from space. Each creature was the size of several city blocks, moving through the air like living nightmares. The Nethics had arrived. Corporal Jun crouched behind a concrete barrier, his rifle ready. Around him, soldiers from a dozen different nations had gathered to face this threat. They had been briefed about what was coming, but seeing the creatures in person was different. These things were pure darkness given form, with long rope-like tentacles that moved like snakes. Remember what the aliens told us, John said into his radio. These things can't be hurt by normal weapons, but we have to try. Private Bo nodded from her position nearby. She was young, barely 20 years old, but she had volunteered for this mission anyway. Orders are orders, she said quietly. The first Nethix drifted lower, its massive form blocking out the sun. Tentacles of shadow reached down toward the streets below, searching for life. Where they touched, plants withered and died instantly. Open fire, came the command through their radios. Jun squeezed his trigger, sending a stream of bullets toward the creature. He watched as every single shot passed right through the shadow body, without effect. Around him, dozens of other soldiers were doing the same thing. Machine guns rattled, rocket launchers fired, and tank cannons boomed. Nothing worked. Just like the aliens said, John muttered, reloading his weapon. These things are like ghosts. The Nethics seemed to notice the attacks, but showed no sign of being hurt. If anything, it appeared amused. One of its tentacles swept downward, moving faster than anything that size should be able to move. Look out, Bo shouted, diving to one side. But the tentacle wasn't aiming for her. It wrapped around Sergeant Kim, who had been operating a heavy machine gun. The man screamed as the dark rope lifted him into the air. His skin began to turn pale, then gray, as the creature drained his life away. No. Bo jumped to her feet and ran toward them. Other soldiers tried to help, firing their weapons at the tentacle holding Kim. The bullets passed through harmlessly. Kim's screams grew weaker as more of his life was stolen. A second tentacle swept down and caught Bo around the waist. She felt a cold sensation immediately, like ice water flowing through her veins. The creature was feeding on her, just like it had done to billions of other beings across the galaxy. But Bo was angry, angrier than she had ever been in her life. This thing was killing her friends, her fellow soldiers, innocent people in the city below. It was wrong, and she was not going to let it happen. Get off me, she screamed without thinking. She swung her right hand as hard as she could, and slapped the tentacle that was holding her. The effect was immediate and shocking. The tentacle jerked away from her, as if it had been burned. The Nethics let out a sound that was part scream and part electronic static. Its entire body flickered like a broken television screen. Bo fell to the ground, gasping for air. The cold feeling was gone, and she could feel her strength returning. What just happened? Jun stared at her in disbelief. The Nethix was retreating, pulling its tentacles back toward its main body. The creature that had seemed completely invulnerable moments before was now moving away from them. It released Sergeant Kim, who fell hard but was still breathing. I hit it, Bo said, looking at her hand in amazement. I slapped it, and it let me go. Jun helped her to her feet. That's impossible. The alien said nothing could hurt these things. Well, they were wrong, Bo replied, flexing her fingers. Her hand felt warm, almost like she had been holding it near a fire. The three Nethix began moving higher into the atmosphere, but they did not leave entirely. They seemed to be watching, waiting, trying to understand what had just happened. Commander Zalthis and Elder Vorthok arrived in a small alien shuttle, just as the creatures reached the upper atmosphere. They had come to witness humanity's final moments, but instead, they found soldiers celebrating around Private Bo. Impossible, Zalthis whispered, his crystalline body crackling with disbelief. The Nethix never retreat. They never show fear. What did you do? Elder Vorthok asked Bo directly. I slapped it, Bo said simply. It was hurting me and my friends, so I hit it. The two aliens stared at her, as if she had just claimed to have moved a mountain with her bare hands. You made physical contact, Zalthius asked, and it responded. Jun nodded. The thing acted like she had hurt it somehow. It let her go and backed off. Elder Vorthek's gaseous form began to shimmer with what might have been excitement. In 300 years of terror, no being has ever harmed an Nethix. Not with the most advanced weapons in the galaxy. Maybe you've been using the wrong weapons, Bo suggested, looking up at the dark shapes still hovering in the sky. Doctor, you had not slept in 36 hours. Her small laboratory aboard the alien refugee ship was cluttered with papers, computer, screens, and strange alien devices she barely understood. The data from Private Bao's encounter with the Nethix made no sense according to everything the galaxy knew about these creatures. This should be impossible, she muttered, staring at the readings for the 100th time. The door to her lab opened, and Captain J walked in with several other people. Commander Zelthius and Elder Vorthok had come too, along with Lieutenant R.A. and Dr. Kim from the xenobiology team. Tell us you have good news, Captain J said, pulling up a chair. Doctor, you rubbed her tired eyes. I have news. Whether it's good or not depends on how you look at it. She activated the main display screen, showing a complex diagram that looked like a cross between a brain scan and a star chart. The Nethix exist in what we call a quantum state, she began. They're not fully in our normal reality. That's why bullets and energy weapons pass right through them. They're partially existing in another dimension. Commander Zalthis leaned forward, his crystal body flashing with interest. We knew this much. Our greatest scientists studied them for decades. Right, Doctor, you continued. But what you didn't know is that human brains work differently than other species. She pointed to a section of the diagram showing electrical patterns. When humans think, especially when we feel strong emotions, our brains generate a very specific type of bioelectric field. Bioelectric field? Lieutenant R.A. asked. Electrical energy from living tissue, Dr. Kim explained. All living things produce some electricity, but humans produce a unique pattern. Doctor, you nodded. Every species in the galaxy has bioactivity, but human neural patterns are special. When we evolved on Earth, our planet's magnetic field shaped how our brains developed. We ended up with electrical signatures that no other known species has. Elder Vorthok's smoky form began to move faster. Are you saying that human brain activity can affect the Nethix more than that? Doctor, you said excitedly. When a human makes physical contact with an ethics, while experiencing strong protective anger. The bioelectric field creates quantum interference. The room fell silent, except for the humming of the ship's engines. Quantum interference, Captain J repeated. It forces them back into normal space, Dr. Yu explained. For a few seconds, they become solid and vulnerable. The stronger the emotion, the stronger the effect. Commander Zelthius' body went completely dark, then began flashing rapidly. It was clearly a sign of extreme amazement. In all our advanced civilizations, across thousands of worlds and millions of years of evolution, no species developed this neural signature. We're not more advanced, Dr. Yu said. We're just different. Earth's unique environment created unique brains. Lieutenant Ra was grinning now. So you're saying we can hurt them by slapping them? Physical contact is required, Dr. Yu confirmed, but it has to be aggressive contact, backed by genuine protective anger. The emotional state is crucial. Private Bo wasn't just touching the creature. She was furious that it was hurting her friends. The bioelectric charge from human contact forces them back into normal space. Dr. Kim added, reading from Dr. Yu's notes. A simple slap, backed by genuine protective anger, disrupts their entire quantum matrix. Captain J started to laugh. It began as a small chuckle, but it grew louder until he was laughing hard enough that tears came to his eyes. What's so funny? Elder Vorthok asked. We're going to slap cosmic horrors to death, Captain J managed to say between laughs. Dr. Yu smiled, despite her exhaustion. It's not quite that simple. The contact has to be deliberate and aggressive. You can't just accidentally bump into them, and the emotional component is vital. You have to genuinely want to protect someone or something, but it works. Lieutenant Ra asked. It works, Dr. Yu confirmed. Private Bo proved that, when she hit that tentacle, she generated enough quantum interference to destabilize the creature's dimensional state for several seconds. Commander Zelthus was still flashing rapidly. This changes everything. For 3 centuries, the net have been unstoppable. We evacuated entire star systems rather than face them. Now we can fight back, Dr. Kim said. More than that, Elder Vorthok whispered. Now we can win. Dr. Yu turned back to her data. I need to run more tests, figure out exactly how this works. We need to understand the limits and the requirements. How long will that take? Captain J asked. I don't know, Doctor, Yu admitted. But I do know one thing for certain. Those Nethics up there are in for a very big surprise. Lieutenant Ra cracked his knuckles. I always knew there was a good reason humans liked to fight with our hands. Outside the ship, the 3 Nethic scouts still floated in Earth's upper atmosphere, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. They had no idea that their greatest advantage had just become their greatest weakness. The darkness came without warning. One moment, Earth's sky was normal. The next, it was as if someone had turned off half the stars in the galaxy. The Nethic Alpha had arrived. Lieutenant N.A. stood on the rooftop of the tallest building in Seoul, looking up at the massive shadow that blocked out the moon. This creature was different from the scouts they had faced before. It was enormous, easily the size of a small city, and its very presence made the air feel cold and heavy. Contact team, report, she said into her radio. Team 2, ready, came the voice of Sergeant Cho from his position across the city. Team 3 in position, reported Corporal Lee from the Harbor District. Na had trained her teams for 2 weeks, straight after Dr. Yu's discovery. They practiced the technique over and over, until they could do it in their sleep. Get close, make contact, channel protective anger, and strike with purpose. Remember, she told her teams, this isn't about being brave. This is about protecting our home. The Alpha began to descend, moving slowly like a mountain of shadow falling from the sky. Tentacles of pure darkness reached down toward the city. Below, each one was thicker than a subway train, and longer than a football field. All teams move in, Na ordered. She ran across the rooftop and jumped to the next building. Her team followed behind her, using ropes and grappling hooks to move quickly through the urban landscape. They had studied the creature's movement patterns from the previous encounters. The Alpha was confident, maybe too confident. Below them, the city was evacuating. Millions of people were moving away from the center, but Na knew there wasn't enough time to get everyone to safety. Some people would be caught no matter what they did. That thought made her angry, and she held on to that anger. Target coming. Down on the north side, Sergeant Joe reported. I can see civilians trapped in that apartment building. Team 2, go help them, Na replied. Team 3, cover the harbor. I'm going for the main body. A massive tentacle swept across the rooftops just above her head. Na could feel the cold energy coming from it, the same life-draining power that had destroyed countless worlds. But she wasn't afraid. She was furious. This thing killed billions of people, she muttered to herself. It destroyed entire civilizations. It thinks Earth is just another easy meal. She reached the edge of her building just as one of the alpha tentacles wrapped around the structure below. The concrete began to crack and crumble as the creature's touch drained the life from everything it touched. Na took a deep breath and jumped. She fell 3 stories before landing hard on the tentacle's surface. It felt like landing on cold rubber, but she could sense the terrible intelligence within it. The Alpha noticed her immediately and began to lift the tentacle toward its main body. Perfect, Na said grimly as the tentacle rose higher. Carrying her toward the creature's center, Na could see what might have been its face. It was a swirling mass of shadow and starlight, with points of light that looked almost like eyes. The Alpha seemed curious about this tiny human who had dared to touch it. In all its centuries of feeding, nothing had ever made physical contact before. It brought Nay closer to examine her. That was exactly what she had been hoping for. Nay thought about Private Bo, who had discovered this weakness by accident. She thought about all the soldiers who had volunteered to fight these creatures. She thought about the families evacuating below, the children who might never see their homes again if she failed. The anger built inside her like a fire. This creature had no right to come to Earth. It had no right to hurt her people. With a sharp cry of rage, Na swung her right hand as hard as she could and delivered a perfect slap across the Alpha's face. The effect was immediate and devastating. The creature's entire form began to flicker and spark like a broken electrical device. The quantum disruption spread through its body like wildfire, unraveling the dimensional bonds that held it together. The Alpha let out a sound that was part scream and part electronic shriek. It was so loud that windows shattered for miles around. The creature's death cry echoed, not just through normal space, but across the dimensional barriers between realities. Na fell as the tentacle dissolved beneath her, but her team was ready with a safety net. She hit the net hard but safely, then rolled to her feet in time to see the Alpha's final moments. The massive creature was coming apart like smoke in the wind. Its tentacles dissolved first. Then its main body began to break into smaller and smaller pieces until there was nothing left but empty air. Above them, the 3 scout ships that had been waiting in the upper atmosphere suddenly turned and fled back toward deep space. They moved faster than they had ever moved before, desperate to escape Earth's gravity well. Commander Zelthus and Elder Vorthok watched from their ship in orbit, their instruments recording everything. Impossible, Zelthus whispered. The Alpha was their strongest. It had destroyed 17 star systems. 3 centuries of terror, Elder Vorthok said slowly, ended by a slap. Down on Earth, Captain J was already making plans. We need to teach this technique to other species, he said into his communicator. Set up training centers across the galaxy. Lieutenant Na looked up at the stars, now visible again with the Alpha gone. Sometimes, she said quietly, the simple solutions work best.